Okay, so today we're going to class. All right, we're going to learn how to add and subtract fractions. Whenever you add and subtract fractions, you need one thing, really. You have to have this before you could add and subtract. What do you need? Raise your hand if you remember. Raise your hand. Yes. LCD. You need a common denominator, but not any kind of common. You need a least common denominator, right? That'd be the ideal, right? But yes, you do need a common denominator. Unless you have a common denominator, you cannot add or subtract fractions. Does that make sense? So that's what we're going to work on today. And we've been working on this many times, right? Remember we learned how to find LCD and so forth. So let me just write down addition rule for fractions. This is something really simple. If I have A over C plus B over C, notice I have a common denominator of C. What does this give you? Everybody? A plus B over C. It's not 2C, is it? Okay, don't write 2C. Some people add the C's together. Do I add the denominators? No. Okay, you don't do that. Okay. All right, of course, when you have subtraction, same thing happens, right? As long as you have a common denominator, subtraction rule, you get A minus B over C, right? Because I could write it, right? I could rewrite this using the definition of subtraction, right? It just becomes A over C plus negative B over C, okay? And then I get A minus B over C, okay? By the way, does the negative sign, like when I use the definition of subtraction, right? The negative, I just multiply this number by negative 1, right? Do I need to multiply negative 1 to top and bottom? No, that's wrong. Okay, what's negative 1 over negative 1? 1. So I'm not multiplying that by negative 1, am I? So you just multiply it once, right? Negative 1. I just multiply to the numerator because I want to keep the denominator the same. Does that make sense? Right, guys? Do you see how I multiply negative 1 to the numerator? Because really, negative 1 is really what? Negative 1 over? Negative 1. No, negative 1 is not negative 1 over negative 1. Negative 1 is negative 1 over 1. That's why I got negative B on the top and C. And I want to keep that same denominator, right? So you can think of, let me rewrite that. Negative 1 is really negative 1 over 1, right? Negative 1 over positive 1, right? So that's why, and I want to keep the common denominator. So that's why I multiply it to the numerator only. Okay? So let's do an example. We have 6t minus 1 over 8 minus 5t minus 4 over 8. And this is nice because we have a common denominator. Okay, everybody go ahead and try. But be careful, I put a star here. I have a minus of this whole thing. Okay, so go ahead, everybody. Write it down, I'll wait. Let's see what you get. Actually, let's do the first step together. Okay. So, how many people think I get 6t minus 1 minus 5t minus 4 on the numerator? No. Okay. Yeah. If you do that, then that's how you get it wrong, Chuck. Okay. How come I don't do that? Why not? Yeah, this means, Chuck, negative 1 times this whole thing. Right? I have to distribute this negative 1, don't I? So instead of getting 6t minus 1 minus 5t minus 4, I should get what? 6t minus 1 minus 5t? No. I have to distribute. Remember this negative? Let's change it to addition, right? Subtraction. Don't have to multiply this negative to the whole numerator.
Negative parentheses 6. No. Negative parentheses negative 60 plus 1.
No. The first number stays the same.
Oh, 60 plus.
60, yeah, plus what?
Negative 1.
No, negative 1 times 5t. What do you get? Don't you have to distribute like this? Right?
Oh, it's frozen.
Oh, okay. So, good. Okay, here. So doesn't it become this way, Chuck? Don't I have to distribute this negative 1 to both of these terms?
Yeah.
What do I get when I multiply this negative 1 to both of these terms?
Negative 5t plus.
Plus 4. That's why we get plus 4.
Yeah.
Right? Don't write just negative 4 there. Does that make sense? Because you're subtracting the whole numerator, not just the first term. Right? You have to distribute that whole negative. Alright, of course, when you finish this, okay, everybody try, see what you get. I'll wait. Now you should be able to get through it. Be careful, right? You got to distribute the negative, right? Everybody try. So the answer comes out to what? T plus 3 over 8, doesn't it? Because you got 6t plus negative 5t and then negative 1 plus 4. Yes, this is plus 4, not negative 4 at the end. Right? Be careful. Right, guys? And remember, fraction bar acts as a what? Fraction bar acts as a grouping symbol. There's a parentheses around here. Isn't that right? Okay, be careful. This is really, right? Isn't this what this really means? Right? So when you change this to addition, right, you know that you have to distribute to negative 1 to both of the terms. Okay? Any question? Alright, may I go to example 2? Alright. Okay. Take a look at example 2 here. It says 4y minus 2 over y minus 5 minus 3y plus 1 over 5 minus y. Okay, first of all, write this down and look at the second fraction, especially the denominator of the second fraction. I do not like that one. Why not? It's not in standard form. It's not in standard form. 5 minus y is not even written in standard form. You want to write things in standard form. It just makes it so much easier, right? Yeah. Because otherwise, you know, it's easy to make mistakes. So how would you rewrite that? Instead of writing 5 minus y here on the second denominator, what would you write, class? Is it y minus 5? It's negative y plus 5, isn't it? You can't just switch the order when you're subtracting. Right? This is really 5 plus negative y, isn't it? Right? So remember, we have commutative property of addition, not subtraction. So, and look what I'm doing here. And I change this to addition. Is that okay? Right? Isn't it? What does subtracting mean? Is adding the opposite. So, right? Adding the, how do you make opposite of a number? Oops. You multiply by negative 1, right? Any question there so far? Oops, what do I do? Okay. Sorry. And then, what should I do next? Because after you factor out a negative 1, look at the denominator. Do you think it's best to have the first term of the polynomial negative, leading coefficient to be negative? No. How can I make this positive? Factor out a negative 1. Can I not do that? Remember, we like to write things in standard form, and not only that, we want to have the first term to be positive. So when I do I not get this? Negative 1 times what? Who could tell me? Negative 1 times? So on the top, I get negative 1 times 3y plus 1. On the bottom, what do I get? When I factor out a negative 1, I get y minus 5. And we like that, don't we? Why? Because look at the denominator of the first fraction. It also has y minus 5. They were opposite of each other. So that's nice. I could factor out a negative 1. By the way, do I like this? Negative 1 on the bottom. I have negative 1 on the top also. So what can I do here? They could cancel out. What's negative 1 over negative 1? 1. I could just cancel them out, can I not? Or I could just multiply top and bottom by negative 1. The same thing. All right? So you could either multiply top and bottom of the fraction by negative 1 because what's negative 1 over negative 1? 1. Or you could just cancel them out. Negative 1 over negative 1 is 1. Right? So we just simply get this now. Any question there? Right? No, I could clear. Let me just get rid of this. Here. What's negative 1 over negative 1? 1. So it just becomes 3y plus 1 over y minus 5. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Shouldn't have put that. Okay. Then, now we're ready to add, right? Because we have a common denominator. All right, guys? Go ahead. Everybody try. I'll wait. When you add the numerators together, right? You just simply get 4y minus 2 plus 3y plus 1 over what, class?
Y minus 5.
Yeah, the denominator stays the same, right? You have a common denominator. You don't add them or anything like that, right? So, class, what did you all get? 7y. There you go. Good. That's the answer. By the way, can I cancel out these y's here?
No.
Okay. Yeah, are the y's... Thank you. Are these y's factors of the whole numerator or the whole denominator?
No.
No, they're not. So, okay, so that's the answer right there. Any questions? All right, go ahead, everybody. Try this yourself. I'll wait. Okay, so you should be able to do example 3 without much problem, if you understood how to do example 1 and 2. Okay, go ahead, everybody. Try. All right, who can tell me what to do first? Okay, look at the fraction. I don't like this fraction, especially the second one, because, let's see, how about, let me pick someone at random. How about, give me a sec. Claire.
You want me to solve it?
No. Well, we don't solve this. This is not an equation. We're going to simplify. So, okay. I don't like this second fraction. Why not?
Because it doesn't have the same denominator.
Okay, it doesn't have the same denominator. Not only that, is this written correctly? 1 over b minus a? Hold on. Not really. Because, do we want to write as b minus a or some differently?
A minus b.
Is b minus a same as a minus b?
No.
No.
One it's right up.
Yeah, but we can't do that, right? We can't just, because it's subtraction. If it was b plus a, yeah, you could do it. So what can we do with this? First of all, is this written in standard form then? B minus a.
I think so.
No, it's not. Because things that are written in standard form are in alphabetical order.
Oh,
Okay, so how would you
it's
rewrite this?
Negative a plus b.
Exactly, that's what you want to do first. Is that okay, guys? Did you all do that? Because we want to make it look like a minus b somehow. If it's written in b minus a, which is not in standard form, it's going to be very hard. So we're going to, make it as, right, as similar as this, but it's not really the same. But we noticed something interesting. Look, we have positive a, this is negative a. This is negative b, this is positive b. Aren't these like opposite of each other or something like that? So what can we do with this? Okay, how about, what can we do to this? Samuel Park? Yeah, you could factor out a negative. You could always factor out a negative 1, can you not? So I'm going to factor out a negative 1 from the denominator. And so I get negative 1 times a minus b. Now we like this, right? Because it's only negative 1 times a minus b. Well, how do I get rid of this negative 1? Is there a way to get rid of this negative 1? How about Brianna? Whenever you have a fraction, Brianna, you could always get rid of the negative 1 from the denominator. How do we do that? Yeah, you could multiply top and bottom by negative 1 over negative 1. After all, what is negative 1 over negative 1, class? 1. Right? So we're multiplying a fraction by 1. That doesn't change anything. It doesn't change its value. But we do get rid of the negative 1 in the denominator, which is what we want. Isn't that right, guys? Because when that happens, look, we get a common denominator. But the numerator now used to be positive. Now it's negative, right? Because it's negative 1 times positive 1. Is that okay? And of course, when we add them together, of course, what do we get here? How about Carly? What's the answer here then?
Oh, I got 3 over a minus b.
Correct, because it's 4 plus negative 1, 3 over a minus b. How many people got 3 over a minus b now? Okay, if you didn't get it, go ahead and help each other out. Ask questions. Okay, go ahead. I'll let you have some time to fix your mistakes. Go ahead, everybody try to help each other out. Okay, so did you all get 3 over a minus 1? Did you ask questions? Did you see your mistake? You knew what you did wrong? Okay, let's look at the next example. This one is a little bit different than the ones we did because now, look at what we have. M over 3 minus 6m plus 3 over 12. What's the difference in this one? How about Royce? Do you see any difference in this problem versus the other ones? Yeah, we don't have a common denominator. Whereas the other one, denominators were opposite of each other and so forth. This time, they're just different, 3 and 12. So, but that's easy. What we need, first of all, to be able to subtract these two fractions, how about Isabella? Bella, what do you think?
Well, I multiplied the m over 3 by 4.
You multiply m over 3 by 4. 4 over 4 is correct. Why did you do that? To get a common denominator is correct. Okay. So Bella is correct. That's what I would do too. But you notice the numerator of the first fraction. You could do that. You could do it that way. But I noticed the numerator of the first fraction has a GCF of 3. So doesn't 3 go into 12? So every time you have a problem, you should always simplify as much as you can. Wouldn't it simplify too? If I were to factor out first of all, I changed it to addition. Okay. Then when I factor out a 3, well, I didn't do that. Never mind. So I did what you said. I did multiply top and bottom by 4. But if you did that, it would have been a little bit easier. But yeah, this works too. Sorry, is that okay? So you could have actually simplified the fraction on the right, and I thought I did it that way, but Bella is right. I'm just following Bella here. But yeah, this one's not that bad. But know that you could actually simplify the right side also. Is that okay? Yes.
When it says m over 3 minus the other fraction,
Hmm?
is the negative on top and the bottom?
Oh, does this negative go on to the top and the bottom? What do you guys think? Should I put negative 1 here too? No, because if you did that, what's negative 1 over negative 1? Positive.
Oh, so it has to be just the top.
Yeah, just to the top.
Oh, okay.
You could just give it to the bottom also, but normally you would just give it to the numerator, wouldn't you? Right? We're just using the definition of subtraction here. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be negative 1 over negative 1 because that would be just positive 1. All right, so then don't we get now common denominator of 12? Is that okay? So we get 4m plus, okay, now do you see how we have to distribute this negative 1 to both of the terms? So we get 6m minus 3, don't we? Over 12. I mean, yeah, you get negative 6m minus 3, you're right. So you get 4m minus 6m minus 3. Do you see where that 3 became negative 3 now? Because you got to distribute the negative to both of these. So what's the answer then, class? Camilla, what did you get? Yeah, negative 2m over 12, and there's the answer. Okay. Is it, what did you put plus 3? It'd be wrong if you put... Okay, yeah, you didn't distribute the negative 1, did you? So be careful. Every time you have these... Okay, so you always have to be careful if you're subtracting fractions, right guys? You change it to addition, you got to distribute the negative 1 to the whole numerator, not just one part of it. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, and could I write the negative 1 in the middle like this if I wanted to? Aren't these the same thing, right? Yeah. Negative 2m minus 3 is the same as negative of 2m plus 3 over 12, right? So you could either write it this way on the left or just write negative in the middle this way. Yes, question?
But if you do that thing on the right,
yeah.
Negative, if you put it outside the thing,
yeah.
Shouldn't you make 12 negative 12?
No. Look, this means negative 1 times 2m plus 3 over 12, right? What does negative 1 mean in terms of fraction?
Negative 1 over 1.
Yeah, negative 1 over 1. So if you were to put negative 1 over negative 1, it'll be positive 1. And not only that, the 12 will turn into negative also. Okay. That'd be wrong. Does that make sense? So what I did was I factored out the negative 1 from the numerator and put it in the middle. You know, we do that sometimes, right? Look, isn't 1 over 2 over 1, negative 2/3, isn't that same as negative 2 over 3? Right? Eric, that's all I'm doing. So instead of writing negative 2 over 3, I'm writing negative of 2 over 3. Same thing, right? This means negative of 2 over 3 this way. Okay. Any question? Okay, good. The question is, could we have rewritten this as separated into two fractions, right? And write negative 2m over 12 minus 3 over 12 or something like that, and then it'll cancel. But if you do that, then you have the answer as difference of two fractions. We don't want that. We want to just write the whole thing in one fraction, using one fraction bar. That's why it's better to leave it this way than separating them, even though you could cancel out each of those fractions and get negative what? M over 6 minus 3 over 4? Yeah. Yeah, minus 1/4. Yeah, minus 1/4. But you don't want that. You just want to write the whole thing in one fraction. As a one fraction. That's the best way. All right, is this okay? All right, let's do the last one then. Here we go. So it says, find the perimeter of the rectangle. And here's the rectangle. The width is n plus 1 over 4. The length is n over 3. Okay? How do you find the perimeter of a rectangle? Again, I cannot tell you how many times people mess this up. It is what? We got to start with what first?
The formula.
Formula. Who can tell me the formula? How about Eugene? What's the formula for a perimeter of the rectangle?
2w plus 2l.
Exactly right. Guess what a lot of people mess up on? They do, instead of 2l plus 2w, they say, yeah, they just do l plus w. Would that give you a perimeter?
No.
No, it only gives you half of it. Okay, please be careful. There are two, right? You have two of each, right? So let's plug it in. We don't know what p is, so 2 times what's my length?
N plus 1 over 4.
That's the width. It doesn't matter. Okay, so n over 3 is the length. Width is how wide something is, you know, to left, right. Yeah, wide, width.
Oh, I've been doing it wrong.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's okay. All right, but look what I did with the other one here. Doesn't 2 go into 4? So can I cancel these out? Yeah, is 2 a factor?
Yeah.
Is 4 a factor of the whole denominator? Yeah, so I could cancel these out, right?
The bottom one's longer, so doesn't that make it the length?
No, just because it's longer, it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever one is longer is usually the length, isn't it?
I mean, it depends on the problem. Okay, yeah. All right, here we go. So when we do this, I get, who can tell me the first fraction it turns to Mimi? What do I get? The first fraction is?
2n over 3.
Good. And then the second fraction, see, we should always simplify as much as we can. I noticed that 2 goes into 4. So Dakota, what does the second fraction become? Once I cancel out 2 and the 4 like this. You got it. Okay. Any questions so far? And isn't this nice to have smaller denominator than bigger one? Because it's easier to find the LCD, right? So what will be the LCD for 3 and 2? Everybody should know. Eunice, what's the LCD for 3 and 2? 6. So what do I need to multiply the first fraction by? How about Jenny? I need to multiply the first fraction by. How do I make 2n over 3 so that it has a denominator of 6? Need to multiply top and bottom by? Jenny? Yeah, first fraction by 2 over 2, exactly. What about the what about the second fraction? What am I going to multiply top and bottom of this by? Samuel Lee? The second fraction? By 3 over? Really? 3 over. You want to multiply this fraction by the value that is equal to 1, right? So whatever you multiply on the bottom, you got to multiply the same number on the top because that's how you get 1. So what do you multiply? What do you need to multiply? 3 over 3, not the other way around. Okay? Do you see that, guys? You see how my LCD is 6, right? And so you need to multiply the first fraction by 2 over 2. What is 2 over 2, class? 1. What is 3 over 3? 1. So you're basically multiplying this fraction by value of 1. Why are we doing these steps? Why are we taking these steps to? Why are we doing this, guys? What's the reason? So that we get a common denominator. Okay, go ahead, everybody finish it up. I'll wait. All right. So the reason why we did all this is because we could get a common denominator. Who could tell me what we get for the first one? Jason.
Oh, you get, where is 4n over 6.
Correct. And what about, hold on, and then what about the second fraction when you multiply top and bottom by 3? Again, you have to distribute this. Sammy, what do you think? What do we get?
7n plus 5. Oh, the answer or the...
Oh, not the answer. So you know how you have to multiply the second fraction by 3 over 3? So you got a common denominator. What do you get when you do that?
3n plus 1 over 6.
3n plus?
Oh, plus 3.
Plus 3 over?
Over 6.
Good. Okay, so you remember to distribute, right, guys? Can I just write 3n plus 1 or something like that? Well, that would be wrong. You're multiplying the whole numerator by 3, right? The numerator happens to have 2 terms, so you got to multiply it twice. Of course, now this whole thing becomes then, Lindsay, when you add them together, you get?
You get 7n plus 3 over 6.
You got it. Okay. So you get 4n plus 3n plus 3 all over 6. Any question? Easy enough? Can you do something like this for your homework or test? Yes? You have, so in order to add or subtract fraction, you must have what, class?
Common denominator.
Any questions? Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, you have questions? Oh, okay. All right, good.